People who work for the super wealthy, what stuff have you seen? Robert Bow had a client come into our 3D printing office. His attention was immediately caught by a large industrial 3D printer in our showroom. Pulled out a credit card and bought a $25,000 machine on the spot. Best part was when we installed the machine at his facility. First thing he wanted to print was a meter-tall penis. Few weeks after the install we got a photo of him standing next to the meter penis. Money well spent. Rarna worked as one of 4 full-time groundskeepers at a large estate. 46 acres of lawn to mow twice a week. 2 clay tennis courts, 3 pools, 1 for the main house and 1 for each of the 2 guest houses. 100+ acre private lake with boat house. No clue how big the whole estate was including the woods. Personal favorite was the 3-mile personal racetrack. But what really blew my mind was that he hosted his niece's wedding one summer, paid $350,000 to have this massive willow tree trucked in and planted by the lake for wedding photos. Only to pay another $50,000 to have it removed and the landscaping returned to its original state after the wedding because he did not like the look of it. Lethe Mariner. Jeweler here. Some random client quotes. Client, so I have some gemstones that have just been collecting dust, pulls out about a dozen amethyst, citron, smoky quartz, most an inch or more across. What can we do with these? Can you make a crown? No, not a little flimsy, fake one, a real one. Me, makes a 5-pound silver and gold crown. New client, you're going to see me a lot. This is going to be my new addiction. Me, okay, I'll bite. What was your last addiction? New client, collecting, fully grown, trees. I had 45 transported and replanted on my property last year. Client, have you seen my new car? Me, I have not. Client, they only made a few. Points out the window at a new, navy blue Bentley. I didn't like the interior so I had them replace it all with bright orange leather. They added a plate inside with my name engraved on it. Isn't it cool? 55-year-old client, I want everything pink. Can you tell I'm obsessed with Barbie? Laughs, we're even building a pink house. I want my engagement ring to be all pink. Me, I can make it in rose gold. Client, great. Do you have any pink diamonds? Me, not in stock but I know of a supplier who has one. Client, I'll take it. Me, it's a natural argyle pink. It would be about $220,000. Client, how soon could you have it ready? Can you add more pink diamonds to the sides? Shaky the Bear. I often do work for the wives of wealthy professionals. The thing that has always stood out to me is that if I tell them that something they want isn't doable, they respond with literal confusion. It isn't anger. It's confusion. They are so unaccustomed to not being given exactly what they want that it's as if they don't understand what is happening when they are told they can't have something. So farms. I used to work at a members-only golf/country club. There were members who had been actors, athletes, race car drivers, former CEO of Google, some major money and egos going on. There was one family that had 3 teenage kids, 2 girls and a boy. The mom and the girls were very attractive and knew it. They always looked amazing and had overly entitled attitudes to match. They were fancy. Well, the lady who washed the linens for the county club also did house cleaning for some members. This family was one of them. She said their multi-million-dollar home was a disaster filth zone. They basically did no housework in between having the cleaning lady there. Dishes piled with dried food that smelled, dirty clothes thrown everywhere, piles of crap all over, sticky floors, dog poop left on the floor. But the nastiest part was the bathrooms. She said they wouldn't empty their bathroom trashes and the ladies of the house would throw their used tampons on top of overflowing trash, so she had to pick up their used women's products thrown on the floor not even wrapped in paper. So these fancy bitches would walk around the club like they were so superior and look down on everyone, then would go home and act like wild apes throwing their trash and period products on the ground. The thought of being so out of touch that you decide it is beneath you to even be sanitary BC you can just pay someone to do that for you is just beyond insanity. Jesket. The CEO of the company I worked for was the founder's son. Not an unintelligent guy for the most part. His dad made him start with the most basic jobs in the company and work his way through the different departments. Managerial staff was ordered, upon penalty of termination, not to treat him any differently than a new hire. So when he became CEO he wasn't a bad guy to with for. Now, this is a company of over 10,000. One night, I'm working overtime on the late shift and we get this call. Hey. You guys. Got. Electrician. The guy is clearly drunk, we have no idea who it is or why he's calling our maintenance/engineering group. We ask who he is and he informs us, light-heartedly. He wants someone to take a ride to his house and figure out why the internet isn't working. This is an hour drive away. I volunteer, I was bored off my nut anyway. I get to the house, entry gate is smashed, section of the white horse fencing is gone, Jaguar is stuck in the field. Here in the house is dude, completely blasted. He's got a huge cut on his hairline. Are you okay, boss? I'm fine. Why? He asks, blood literally caked on his face. I accompany him to the bathroom and help him clean himself up, wash off the gash and put some bandaging on it. Then I corrected the internet. Unplug plug. As I'm walking out, he asks me to do a shot with him. I comment, worried about my job, that it might be a bad idea. He agrees and hands me the bottle, take it home and do a shot later. Keep it. When I get back to work I look the stuff up. Never heard of it. It's a $1,500 bottle of scotch. The next day I'm at work early. About 11 in the morning he comes walking up. We're not going to be talking about last night? I tell him it's all good, awesome. A little bit later I get an envelope. There's a check attached for emergency tech support, $5,000. Gee Winborn. An old boss did extremely well and sold off the lion's share of his ownership but wanted to stay involved in the company anyway, so he'd drive his absurd supercar to the office and just hang out. One day he came into the office and it was set up in such a way that the executive offices were in a little 2x2 office glass pod in the middle, with curtains for privacy if needed, and our rows were arrayed around them. He sat in his little glass office all day and cleaned his handguns. I'll say this though, he wasn't a bad dude. We may not have seen eye to eye on politics but if you worked for the company he knew your name and would hang around and chat. Super generous around the holidays with time off and the big holiday party/door prizes/stuff of that nature. The company went way downhill when he finally let go of the reins completely. Gee Winborn. An old boss did extremely well and sold off the lion's share of his ownership but wanted to stay involved in the company anyway, so he'd drive his absurd supercar to the office and just hang out. One day he came into the office and it was set up in such a way that the executive offices were in a little 2x2 office glass pod in the middle, with curtains for privacy if needed, and our rows were arrayed around them. He sat in his little glass office all day and cleaned his handguns. I'll say this though, he wasn't a bad dude. We may not have seen eye to eye on politics but if you worked for the company he knew your name and would hang around and chat. Super generous around the holidays with time off and the big holiday party/door prizes/stuff of that nature. The company went way downhill when he finally let go of the reins completely. Dr. Grizzly. I did a male nanny, job for a rich couple who wanted someone to care for their kids. The wife didn't want a female nanny and I was in college so it helped pay the bills. One day they asked, do you want to go to Hawaii? Turns out the company that the husband was the COO of was doing an executive retreat in Hawaii. Instead of finding daycare in Hawaii for their kids they thought it'd be easier to just pay for me to fly to Hawaii, care for the kids during the day, and then have my evenings or their family time free. So I went to Hawaii on their dime, had my own hotel room, they paid me for my time and gave me a large stipend for my own food/entertainment. I ended up with pretty much every evening off so I got to spend it. During the day I brought their kids to the beach, we went hiking, and did some touristy running around. On top of that they gave me $5,000 in spending money, in case any of the kids wanted anything. I had to show receipts, but when I tried to turn in the receipts the wife just said, oh don't worry about it, it's only a couple grand, and never verified how I'd spent some of that money. I couldn't tell if she just trusted me implicitly by that point or if she truly thought the amount was so small it didn't matter. They were a really nice family, just very well off, which made just spending money on any problems the easiest answer. I actually got invited to the oldest daughter's high school graduation because she considered me a friend. Cindy Slickbooty. Bartending at a fancy party in a very wealthy older couple's house where these people had art on display they had bought from museums. I was working in a room where 3 walls were glass and you could see this beautiful manicured garden with sculptures. When the sun started to set, these big floppy-eared white bunnies started to appear and frolic around the yard. I asked someone who worked in the house about the rabbits. The rich people bought them as a garden feature. Every once in a while they had to cull the rabbit population. The rabbits were decorations. This was also the night when I was making an older man a drink and he decided to ask me, "So, what are the poor people doing tonight?" So said Thelier. I worked retail, J.Crew, on the main street in a super rich town. One woman took off her diamond-encrusted Patek Philippe and somehow forgot it in the dressing room. I found it and manager has no idea what to do with it. We had a lost and found drawer, but it was full of sunglasses and random shit, not really safe for a $500,000 watch, and decides to keep it in the store safe, usually used only for cash. When nobody came by the next day to claim it, I called the company, which took forever, gave them the serial number, and they called the owner to tell them where to pick it up. They give me the owner's name to verify it's her when she comes in. The next day a woman comes in and asks for the watch. I ask for ID to verify, she gives it, and lo and behold she is not the owner, but she explains she's the owner's housekeeper and was sent to pick it up. My manager says I can't give the watch to her, and insists I get the owner with their ID to pick it up. I tell the housekeeper and she's annoyed because she has a lot of errands to do and doesn't want to call her boss. Eventually she does call and tells the owner she has to come herself with the ID, but first the owner tried to claim, "I'm the owner," over the phone, and didn't understand why that wasn't enough proof. Housekeeper leaves to run other errands, and about 2 hours later the owner comes in and proceeds to have a hissy fit asking why we had to bother her when it's clearly her watch, how TF we were supposed to know that is beyond me, and scolds me for wasting her time when I say I have to go get it from the safe. When I get back, I put on my customer service smile and tell her I'm sorry that recovering her $500,000 watch was so hard for her, but a lot of other people have tried to claim the watch was theirs, so we were just being careful. In reality there was only one shopper who overheard us talking about the watch and jokingly said they would take it, har har har, but she didn't seem to care and humphed her way out. The same housekeeper comes in the next day and returns 7 cashmere sweaters the lady bought, all crumpled in a ball. Apparently the owner got too exasperated in our fitting rooms and decided to buy the rest of the clothes without trying them on, and then forgot her watch. Buying a shit ton of clothing without trying was common for rich people, but they usually forgot or didn't care enough to make returns. Strangely enough, it was not the weirdest dressing room incident in my time there. Woman shrugging, light skin tone. Lucifer. I worked on a billionaire's home installing his custom pool. He ordered a custom iridescent tile. For the whole pool it cost $440,000 for material alone and another $400,000 to install it. We informed him that it was a special order and couldn't be changed once ordered. He approved. We installed it. Walks out, it looks amazing, all the people working on it thought so, says he doesn't like it, tear it out and replace it. All told he blew like $2.4 million on his pool tile before he got done. Fucker didn't bat an eye. Edit 2, also worked on a house in that same area that had a $250,000 fish tank. Can't share pictures of that cause it was in someone's house, but still. Harley Quinn 90. I briefly cleaned houses one summer and these houses were insane. Some had elevators. Some had stalls in their master bathroom, edit, corrected from bedroom. One had a literal cave manufactured in the bathroom, with shower heads all thorough outed. You could walk from one end and come out the other side of the bathroom, split by a massive hot tub. What struck me as odd, in almost every house, was the sense of disuse. They had grand pianos covered in dust. Expensive lamps and throw pillows with the tags still on them. Sprawling playrooms with every toy any child could want, totally devoid of playing children. The weirdest house I cleaned though, wasn't huge and it wasn't gorgeous. It was pretty normal on the outside. But inside, the entire house was filled with piles of clothes. Everywhere. I pulled aside my fellow cleaner and asked, with all sincerity, how to clean this house. She told me to go around the piles as best you can. They had a mountain of clothes in the living room, like something out of a cartoon. Every couch had stacks of brand new clothes with tags on them. They were the only folded clothes anywhere. In the bedroom it was the same. Smaller piles in every corner, couldn't fully open or close doors around them. The kids' bathroom didn't even have a shower curtain. Best guess after cleaning that house as best we could, is that they don't wash clothes. I think they just buy more, and discard the dirty clothes into the piles. I think about that house a lot, and wonder if they ever got their shit together. Edit to add, it was like metal bathroom stall cubicles. And the elevators and stalls did not seem related to accessibility, my apologies for any misunderstanding. Fritzo 2162. I've done side IT work for various CEOs dozens of times over the years and there's always common threads. It's always been male CEOs, and they genuinely seem relieved to have someone in their house that isn't trying to negotiate or weasel something from them. They'll sit and talk with me, ask my career plans, how I got into the field, that kind of thing. The wives of said CEOs are all eerily similar, lots of makeup, very strong opinions, very cold, and very standoffish. The garage always has at least one classic car, one sports car, and one car lift. There is always a golf cart on the property. The kids' rooms are always a mess. One guy was in an 18-plus room mansion and his teen son had a mattress on the floor with clothes piled up everywhere. I had to hook up some wiring in there and it smelled like his foot was in my face. If there's a dog or cat in the house, it's the most well-groomed animal you've ever seen. They always have a van service to come out once a week or so for grooming. Any mess will be blamed on the cleaning lady. She either hasn't come or missed something, even though I didn't notice a mess in the first place. They tend to have the best of everything from stores/vendors you don't normally see. One CEO had a custom German sound system installed in his game room, which featured a bar, a snack bar, theater seating, cafe tables, and 2 fridges. The interface on his entertainment system was also custom-made and all the TVs in the house used the same interface. I've seen a glimpse of very sexy lingerie, leather straps, and chains hanging in closets. Freaky stuff happens. I'll always get an invite to go on a boat ride, plane ride, golf trip, whatever they're into. These invites aren't real. I think they do it to remind you they have toys. That's all I can think of for now. AMA might jog my memory. Breakbats_nothearts.I. Did personal shopping for a pop star for about 7 months before they moved out of my area. The main thing I witnessed was inconsistency. Day 1, go find me this exact rug and find some picture frames that would complement this room. Great, I put in a little extra footwork and found that rug discounted. Well, they didn't want it discounted when they can afford full price. Day 2, while they were out the other day, they saw this fantastic sculpture at a home goods store. Can I find it? Hey, turns out I can. No problem. Wait, but if I found that rug from yesterday discounted, why couldn't I put in the time to find this discounted? NDA runs out in 2030, but otherwise I have nothing but praise. They were a joy to work with. It was just very much never knowing what would strike their fancy and when, then not knowing if I should go the extra mile to save money or find a newer model, or just get paid for a full day's work for walking about a mile to bed, bath, and beyond. Mollycoddle 99. I worked on a school project with a girl whose family net worth is more than $9 billion. They have a consumer products company that is a household name everyone would recognize, and it is family run. 2 stories. First, at dinner one night, she made an offhand comment, growing up, my parents would tell me to eat all the food on my plate. And I thought, yeah, me too. Until she continued, because when I'm running the family business, it will offend our overseas suppliers if we don't eat all the food they serve. Second, I was writing a fluff article for the school newspaper about an event. It was fun, many people including John Park, Jose Gonzalez, and Mary Jones all attended. I gave them each an FYI before submitting. She replied immediately very agitated and said I couldn't include her. I thought she misunderstood and said it would only show up buried at the back. She replied, you don't understand. If my name shows up in the paper at all, I will get angry calls from my whole family, parents, aunts, uncles, everyone. Carl Vercade. I'll change a few details to protect the innocent, but I used to give guitar lessons in a very rich area and the company I worked for had a lot of celebrity and or just ridiculously rich clients. I saw in-home rivers, elevators, waterfalls, live-in chefs, 40-car garages, fully automated mansions that could change the season, indoors, etc. The thing that stood out most to me was the boredom of humanity. Like one guy I became friends with had 17 off-road vehicles, a house bigger than his Lakers star neighbor, and his Chicago Bulls star neighbor for that matter, and traveled to different extreme game competitions every weekend, but when I came over for the lesson, he just wanted to talk about Nirvana, watch TV, learn Pearl Jam bass riffs, and go to shows. The second thing that stood out to me was that the ratio of cool people to screwed up people seemed relatively the same between the super rich and the normies. Like there was one guy who wanted lessons with his very young son to connect with him, but only lasted 3 minutes every lesson before he had to take an important call or run off to an emergency board meeting. You could see the kid was in a giant playground of a mansion but was just crushed. However, I also gave lessons to a family where the parents were two high-powered lawyers, one of whom is now running for Congress, and they were absolutely amazing to those kids. Always attentive, would drop calls from celeb clients to fix a tricycle wheel, would lovingly enforce homework rules, etc. Great people. That was about the same ratio amongst my middle-class clients and amongst my poor clients. The last thing that stood out as the one really obvious advantage to being rich was the people's physical appearance. By and large, they were almost all very good-looking people at any age, and most without surgery. It's actually kind of incredible what the body can do when you're able to always feed it healthy foods, live in chefs, exercise whenever you want in a variety of ways with or without leaving your home, in-mansion gyms, indoor-outdoor multi-tiered waterfall pools, week-long skiing trips, personal trainers, etc., and the lack of daily, grinding mental stress. I'm not saying they didn't have stress or they didn't work hard, but most did not have that existential stress about what might happen if they got fired because they didn't work the extra Saturday, or the stress of a boss breathing down your neck when you're at a dead-end job just hoping for a living wage. There is something to be said for the mental benefit of hope and joy and inner calm, and unfortunately, money does help with those things. So I did see a large health benefit to people with loads of money also. And lastly, I don't believe any of these people were self-made. This type of wealth is not just working hard and climbing the corporate ladder using nothing but your bootstraps. This type of money is generational wealth with decades-long investment accounts from things set up by ancestors. I'm not saying they haven't worked hard, but turning $100 into $1,000 and turning $100 million into $110 million are two very different things, and the latter is inarguably easier from both a percentage and opportunity standpoint.